Ugh. All right, so I was doing some stuff earlier, and for reasons that are not entirely in my control, we might be interrupted. And if that happens, I'm going to just say screw it, depending on how bad it is, and then upload something of the same topic. So, a lot of fans of Dragon Ball are mostly fans of Z, and because they're fans of the sequel series, they oftentimes don't understand or don't seem to get why people who saw the first one or the original series, well, I guess technically it still is part two of the manga. They don't get why people who are fans of the first part like certain characters who don't really do as much during Z. Uh, and I always go back to Tien's role in the King Piccolo arc or the Piccolo Daimao arc as an example of how you can write a situation where Goku has to be the victor without it seeming to be this ridiculous contrivance that simply makes the main character have plot armor. So it's established that King Piccolo was sealed away with the Mafuba, and the season, or rather that particular arc, has Tien learn that move. He shows up to fight him knowing that move, and you have no reason to believe he can't do it. But he loses because Piccolo sends out what was that Drum, his second to last son, who overwhelms him, and it's completely believable because you've seen it. His newborn children are very strong, very powerful, despite not being alive that long. And it goes off of a power that we've known that Piccolo had, which was to use the his ability to reproduce for his benefit. Ruben says I checked and I did get a notification after all, but couldn't see it for some reason. Yeah, I don't understand what's up with this website. They're doing all kind of weird stuff now. But look, so as I was saying, when he loses, it doesn't feel contrived because we know that Piccolo's kids are all around the same level of strength. That oh yeah, I mean I guess in retrospect, because a lot of American fans saw Z before the original, so they kind of get weirded out when they see the original Piccolo Daimao, to where I've actually had people go, "Oh, is that Piccolo?" I'm like, yeah, that's his dad. He's a reincarnation. Yeah, they like to reuse the name. Both that was funny how they were talking about how similar Piccolo and Vegeta are. That they're just very similar designed younger versions of their parents, powered up younger versions of their fathers. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, um, when Goku shows up after drinking Ultra Divine Water, which is one of the cheapest. I love the King Piccolo arc because it's very serious, it's dramatic, it still retains basic senses of comedy, and I really do recommend it for anyone that likes Dragon Ball, just the overall series. But the that power up was just so ridiculous. Like we're gonna have you drink some water, and now suddenly you're stronger than Piccolo. That is the one gaping issue in that arc. And I've had people because a lot of times when you talk to fans of this series, they basically tell you, "Well, what else could Toriyama have done?" Well, since he has shown that he likes to use fusions in that arc, we could have had Goku fuse with the person who tested him to get the water, and then that's where they could have written that the power up came from the two of them powering together because we know that the force that was there wasn't actually evil; it was just trying to test them. My point is that there's writers can find all kind of ways to power up people very quickly. Like with the hyperbolic time chamber, that was something that did not feel cheap to me because even though it's a very small window of time, it still is a year worth of training. It was completely believable to me that you could have characters have massive power ups from training. It wasn't like the situation with 17 and Super where he just shows up, randomly 30 times stronger than he was when he lost to Cell's first form. Oh yeah, I'm not going to blame, like, that's like, so for example, I'm not gonna sit here and say, why didn't they have Zeno come and kill King Piccolo? Because that character wasn't invented. I'm not gonna blame a creator for not doing something that they hadn't have introduced at that point. What I'm saying is, out of all of the different power-ups from the original manga, the Ultra Divine Water, drinking water and then magically becoming stronger, was just, it felt the cheapest out of the power-ups that were given. But again, I'm simply going back to that point because a lot of the issues I have with Tien's character kind of were not there in that arc. But so it's kind of me basically saying this is when they used them properly versus afterward. So when they have him die in the Saiyan arc, I always say that the only, like, his death serves probably the least amount of purpose out of the characters that were killed by Nappa, because Piccolo's death adds drama to the story since the Dragon Balls don't exist and he sacrifices himself to save the son of the man he hated. It's good for both his character and for adding drama to the story because his death actually implicates the leads directly into the next arc. Shao Tsu's death is good because he goes up and actually attempts to fight and basically, that's, now that I think about it, really the only death out of those four that matters that much is Piccolo's, and then maybe the only thing Yamcha's really does is show that the Cybermen are actually kind of tough and smart. But Shao Tsu and Tien had kind of pointless deaths, especially Shao Tsu because he didn't even do anything to Nappa. It was just to get Tien angry. Um, but that's just my opinion on that. So I wouldn't get upset over his role in, say, the Frieza arc because he's dead. So I'm not gonna be pissed off over that. But when you get to the android stuff, that's when you start getting into the ridiculous. Because my thing has always been, if a character is stronger than other characters, right? Just for the sake of presenting a new threat, I can sort of believe that if there's a way for each character to realistically become as strong as the antagonist. Otherwise, it just turns into a game of, the creator playing favorites and trying to figure out a way to basically make one character stronger than another one. Do you want to go? Jesus. Okay, Mister said, I've never seen DBZ, but have seen 100 plus other series. Japan won't get over Yamcha's death scene. Every time Yamcha gets brought up over there, it's just that for that scene. I told you the ultimate Twilight Zone moment for me, Ruben, was when they had that poll for the top 20 most popular characters back in, I think I was in kindergarten when they had it in Japan, and Goten was listed as number 6, as the sixth most popular character in the series. That made no type of sense. Goku's clone beat out Tien, Yamcha, because with Trunks, that didn't bother me because we know everyone when they say Trunks is talking about the future version. But you literally, like, I don't get Japan at all. That was insane. We love the clone more than characters that actually have personality. That's why that one guy said Goten is just a poor man's version of Goku. But look, getting back to what I was saying, only around the Cell arc does it start getting ridiculous. And I guess it can kind of be summarized with, just as an example. So with the Buu arc, it's mentioned that Gohan is still more powerful than Piccolo, even though he hasn't been training for the last 7 years. And Piccolo is one of four characters, that being Goku, Vegeta, himself, and Tien, that we know constantly always trains, even in times of peace. And that really pissed me off. That was a really stupid decision that was made by Toriyama as a cheap way of focusing on Gohan while also downplaying the work that these other characters put into attempting to at least depict themselves as being powerful. Actually, there's a person, my phone is charged right now, but there was a person who was on this video, not this one, but some other video, and they were mentioning how the humans could be stronger if the writers weren't lazy. It's like, it's because the writers are lazy that they basically decided we're going to have the same couple of people. because I mentioned before that the only thing, if Toriyama really wanted this to just be the Goku show where he saves the day every arc, only thing he had to do was make every other character just stop training, and I would have believed that he was more powerful than everyone else because it was earned. Instead, he has wrote himself into a box where he has to create a contrived reason for other characters, including Tien, not being as powerful, despite working as hard. And I saw some people who, during the portion, so Super and everything that happens after Z, they go, "Oh well, no, Goku's stronger because he trained with Whis and Beerus. Yeah, that's why he's so tough." Okay, if I'm to believe that that's why he has such a large, insurmountable gap between him and Tien, why the hell was 17, who, again, need I remind people, did not train with any person anywhere near the level of gods for 10 years, magically as strong as a Super Saiyan 3 and higher forms, during Super? Like, that's why I said 17 broke Dragon Ball, because every time they try to, like, you have these fans who attempt to make reasons out of the writers being lazy. So they'll bring up some kind of particular part of the story, and then you can pull another part that basically explains that away. Well, Ruben, if you ever saw Multiverse, someone they actually did play out the scenario of what happened if Vegeta didn't come to Namek, because he was able. Remember, he played a big role in the Freeze arc because he took out the Ginyu Force. Well, no, let me rephrase that. He didn't beat them, but he killed them after Goku beat them up. Um, and Dodoria and Zarbon. Basically, if he wasn't there, it's very likely that Gohan and Krillin by themselves wouldn't have been able to survive up until Frieza showed up, because they were still weaker than Vegeta was when he um, prior to him having all those Zenkai boosts. Yeah, he killed the whole Ginyu Force except for Ginyu. I guess technically with Super, and the Tagoma thing, but you get the point that him being there actually serves a purpose that if Goku had spared him, wouldn't have taken place. So that's actually those are the kind of things a lot of people, when you criticize Dragon Ball, like to pretend that you think you're so much smarter than the person who wrote it. And I said I can give the series credit where it deserves. Having Vegeta survive the Saiyan arc so that he can inadvertently assist the main characters of the following arc, Gohan and Krillin, without them directly asking him, or just by sheer coincidence of them having a similar goal, was a brilliant idea. It's those kind of moments where you just sort of watch something and you realize how it's all folding together. Those don't happen anymore in Dragon Ball. Now it's just the good guys go to fight the bad guy. They hold him out until Goku shows up and saves the day, and that's it. It's like, yeah, you had that with the Ginyu Force, but the series currently tries to have it both ways. Where, like in Z with the Freeze arc, right? You have Gohan, Vegeta, Krillin just get decimated by the Ginyu Force, so that when Goku shows up after these other three characters have had um, their struggle displayed to the viewer for some continuous period that demonstrates the gap between them and the current forces, he shows up and actually saves the day, and it's believable because you've seen him train himself to death as he's been coming to arrive on Namek. And then after he almost dies from the fight with Ginyu, he's again getting another boost from a near-death experience while they're trying to fight off Frieza. But the reason when he showed up, it actually was something that people looked forward to and thought was an earned victory on the part of either himself or the collective group of the heroes, was because the story took itself away from him long enough for other characters to get development and to do things to hold off the villain and actually make some sort of progress. I was harping on this Moro arc because they have a scene very early on where Goku and Vegeta lose to Moro, and then it just skips to where 3 days later Moro is still going around on New Namek looking for the Dragon Balls. And I was saying that if this series was still written how it used to be, You would have had some other character, whether that's Piccolo or Boo or whoever the hell, hold off Moro for some period in between there. And then that would have made Goku and Vegeta waking up actually seem like something that was worth looking forward to, because the story had demonstrated the stakes that were coming from these two characters not being there. Instead, it wants to have you with those two characters all the time, and then little brief excerpts where you're not with them, and that payoff just doesn't feel like anything that's actually going to matter or that is earned, because they're just in your face all the time. So Dragon Ball Z is the only show I've ever seen where where the supposed main character loses, like, gets less screen time than multiple other characters. That's really insane. But it worked, because every time he would show up and save the day, it would seem believable due to the laws and physics of the universe. I know I'm getting a little off topic. I'm just simply saying that because of how different the show is, it doesn't get the same kind of dramatic beats where you keep sticking someone in our face every episode or every chapter, and then you want to use the rest of the characters. Like I said before, Z has an ensemble cast, and then Super is the Goku and Vegeta show guest starring the Z Fighters, where they pull them out every like 8 or 9 episodes to like have one scene or something, and then it just goes back to the same two over and over. And it doesn't work because all they have to do for it to make sense for why they're stronger is simply say everyone else just stop training. But Tien is still established as training. Piccolo is still established as training. So when they end up being, leagues weaker than those two, again, before Beerus and Whis were even a thought in Toriyama's head, it just seems like a contrived, nonsensical thing that was designed simply to give people. I guess what I'm saying is now retroactively people try to use the fact that those two characters train with the gods as a reason for why they're stronger, but it was the same exact story of them being leagues and leagues stronger than a human and a Namekian who train just as much, if not more, without the gods being there in Z. I don't know. Maybe what I'm saying is being lost. I like how the whole chat just shut up, basically. Oh no, Ruben, I know that Vegeta killed Goldo by himself. I'm simply saying that him being there, he served a purpose in the Freeze arc, is what I'm getting at. And the reason that I really like that piece of writing is that the story doesn't go out of its way to tell you that. And Music Fiend is saying that he wants porn of Jace from the Ginyu Force. He wants to see that white hair and that red behind or something. I'm sure somebody has drawn that. Krillin managed to give a good hit to Dodoria while on Namek. Well, remember that that's how Z tried to depict itself, as being that you could still win a fight if you had a move or something that was how do I explain this? So like with Raditz, right? Goku and Vegeta are both confirmed to be weak. Not Vegeta, excuse me. Goku and Piccolo are both confirmed to be weaker than him, but the special beam cannon is stronger than Raditz and kills him when it goes through him. And it was the same thing with Goku versus Vegeta. Goku is established to be weaker under normal circumstances, but when he used the Kaioken, he gets stronger, can actually potentially kill Vegeta if he doesn't, stop him before he does this move. And you get my point that it's only for that first arc that first saga of the of Z that characters who are weaker actually have an avenue to do damage and to be able to fight someone. Hell, even when Tien was fighting Nappa, you have Vegeta mentioned that Tien's tri beam that he uses after he gets pissed off that Shiatsu died for nothing could have killed Nappa. But it's after that first arc that it stops being a thing of who can learn a new move that's going to save the day. It turns into the Saiyan show and Transformers. Oh, this new villain is so powerful. Give him a new form. And I said, if the writers actually cared about having a fair scenario, and they're too, they don't want to like, let's say, I don't know, make people think that they're being favoriting to the Saiyans just because of reasons, they would give the humans some new forms. I've actually seen some pretty cool fan art where it's Tien with like sparks going around him or whatever. Personally, I'm really sick of forms because they like it's just an excuse to make toys. But if it means a character being stronger as defined by the rules of the universe, because the characters who are very strong tend to have forms, other than maybe Jiren, I'd be able to accept that. You can call it ultra human or something, and it would make sense for Tien to have it because he's the only one that of the humans that trains, no matter what. And that's why I get so, like I said before, my three favorite characters are Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo. But I get so pissed off over Piccolo and Tien, especially because the series itself tries to get people to believe in hard work paying off. And this is something that was true in Dragon Ball because back then we were led to believe that Goku was a human. But the series tries to preach these ideals of those that work the hardest can save the day, those that do the most to better themselves. Just it tries to get you to believe that characters' efforts, like the things that they do regarding their training, actually causes them to be the victor. When all it's been doing for the last 20 years is basically saying that unless were born with the tail, you might as well go to hell. As far as fighting is concerned. Okay, Roman says, LOL, Dragon Ball have to give fan favorites their spotlight, which harms development for the rest. Well, that's why I can never, like, every time people say I want the fusion to win, I can't get attached to those characters because, they're on screen for maybe like, 5 minutes. And then, I was kind of like with Vegito, I always thought he might be the one fusion that people could actually see as doing something, but now they've retconned it to where the Potara fusion is basically the same as the other one, in the sense that it has a time limit for no damn reason, so I get what you're saying about they want the fan favorites to win no matter what. But I was told that Piccolo was a fan favorite as well. I really think it's just the creators playing favorites. They want it to be the Saiyan show. It's too late to fix Dragon Ball at this point. Yeah, but it's only too late because the fans deem it to be that way. You have a segment. I've been on the what's that forum called? Kensenshu. You have fans on there who complain about the humans not being able to do anything. Like there's a sizable portion of fans who are sick of all these damn transformations, uh, characters being completely obsolete after a season's passed. So there's a segment that are sick of it. But the thing is, you need to get to a point where people just get tired. Oh yeah, we can do Piccolo at another point, flying Iceman. We can go through him very steadily and readily. I just take the little scraps they give to supporting characters and roll with the punches. They follow a formula, and it has got them to stay relevant since. Yeah, but okay, if you go to the Cell arc, right, with Gohan defeating Cell, that was actually a surprising thing because every arc prior to that one, we had Goku be the victor. And I don't see any fans, or I've never seen fans complain that they did something different once and having another character be the victor. It was the same thing with 17 winning the tournament, even though I think they took 17 and like made him ridiculously strong with no explanation. That was really stupid and hurt the story. I don't see fans complaining that it wasn't Goku or Vegeta who won the tournament. So there is a large chunk of these of fans who are completely content with the idea, and in a couple of cases execution of a character that isn't a Saiyan or isn't Goku or whatever being the one who basically saves the day. So let's say they did an arc where, I don't know, there's a villain who's especially weak to the tri beam and you have Tien defeat him. I don't think the fans would lose their mind. That's why the series is so screwed up, because for there to be any kind of stakes, they have to take two of their supposed main characters out of it for it to actually have any kind of drama. Like the only reason anyone thinks Moro's gonna devour Earth is because Goku and Vegeta aren't there. Well, now Goku is, but you get the point that they wrote themselves into a hole. And again, if they were smart, they would do it this way. They would have Goku and Vegeta just being off at some planet, and then the rest of the cast is trying to deal with Moro. So you would have, Tien, Yamcha, the rest of the crew trying to figure this out. And then while they're getting the development of going out and trying to figure this out and actually attempting to be active within the story, it makes the other two characters who are training coming back and either saving the day or help to save the day not feel as contrived. And now Flying Iceman is saying that Saiyaman is his favorite incarnation of Gohan. It's too late to redeem to Tien or any humans. They have been weak and obsolete for so long. I mean, couldn't say the same thing about Vegeta. It's like, yeah, he gets a fight or two, but I can't recall any time where he actually defeated the main villain of the arc ever. They even let Trunks, who was allegedly what weaker than all of the Saiyans in the main timeline, other than Kid Trunks and Goten, defeat Zamasu. So I just think anything's possible. You and Flying Iceman. This is why this is one of the reasons I don't really like talking to fans about this stuff, because if we go back 2-3 years ago, I guarantee you would have said the same thing about 17. Oh, he's too weak. He can't do it. He lost to first form Cell, and then they just magically bring him back, and he's stronger than most of the cast for no damn reason. So I don't buy this idea that it's too late, because we just saw a character who was, forget being irrelevant, not even in the story, for 20 years, other than GT, which people like to pretend doesn't exist, come back and magically be much stronger. So I don't really buy the idea that if Toriyama or whoever writes the story wanted to be them to be stronger, couldn't do that with Tien or one of the humans. Especially since, like I said, using a character like him or Piccolo makes a hell of a lot more sense because they actually train. Like, I'm just now I'm stuck on that comment. It's too late. All they have to do is have him go up to Beerus and Whis and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm tired of sitting over here training in woods and being weaker than all of these guys. Give me some kind of training regime." And then Beerus handicaps himself while he's training with Tien to give the latter a little bit of an advantage. And then suddenly, if that character if he's able to keep up with Super Saiyan Blue and all the rest of the stupid forms, it will actually make sense because the story, by its own laws, allowed for that to make sense. No, King. I'm not saying the likelihood is high or anything. I'm not questioning the chance, the lack of a chance of that happening. I'm simply saying that I'm tired of people who like this series pretending that it actually has created a universe that doesn't contradict itself and switch itself up whenever it damn feels like it. Told you, if this had been the end of Z, so let's say Super didn't exist or Super was maybe in the future Trunks arc, and you said the humans are done, I would believe that. No transformations, nothing, no, nothing they could do to catch up. But after seeing 17 come back and just be completely ridiculously strong after fighting people that Kid Goku could have beaten, no. They threw. That's why I still need to make that video. How 17 broke Dragon Ball. There is no character. You can go back and read the entire original manga and read all of the Super manga up until now. There isn't a single character who is out of the story for that damn long and just magically comes back that much stronger, who doesn't just like wreck the whole laws of the series by returning at their power level or at whatever strength level they were. Okay, King says, I love the fact that the androids are part of the elite, but there should have been some background to why it should be explained. But there should be some background to why it should be explained. Yeah, they didn't really. They don't in the series address a lot of the past of the androids. They kind of just like all we know is that Giro is part of the Red Ribbon Army, and that's pretty much it. I'd rather have 16 come back. He was a wasted character. Yeah, I really think he could have been kind of interesting. Just because he had different moves and techniques that you don't really get to see from the other characters with him being fully robotic. Like we would take off his arms. Okay, Ruben says, as of right now, original Dragon Ball is more popular in Japan than Z is. Japanese fans ruin the Dragon Ball series for nothing. Super 17 from GT to get brought back for Super and team up with Super 17. I remember that meme where it's like, oh yeah, Super 17 is better than Super 17. Wait, which one? They just love the word super. We got Super Saiyan, Dragon Ball Super, Super 17, all just keep using that word forever. Flying Iceman, the potential from time to time. When has Vegeta ever actually defeated the main antagonist of an arc? And that's what, that's actually the reason why. Okay, so someone actually said that Vegeta, because of how much they use him compared to the other characters, is basically the Saiyan equivalent of Yamcha, in the sense that people make fun of Yamcha for the Cyberman thing, but because Vegeta has had so many more fights and therefore losses, we can easily go through and name more times he's lost after being set up as someone that could win. Got defeated by Hit, got destroyed by Beerus, got a little brief period where he was kind of, don't hit my Bulma or whatever, and then got beat by him again. Got beat by Golden Frieza, got beat by by Super Saiyan. Okay, Iceman, I could point to Tien beating the guy in the manga, whoever that guy's name was in the manga from the last chapter. They always give him one little fight. And the androids until Cell dodged his final flash. No, the only android Vegeta did anything worthy against was killing actually 19. 20 runs away, and then Cell, he's stupid enough to let Cell get his final form. And unlike Gohan, he doesn't actually get to defeat Cell. So again, that's my point, that they give the supporting characters. Hell, we could actually go through the movies and probably find more times Piccolo beats someone than Vegeta, because Vegeta's missing from a lot of those early Z movies because it wasn't established that he was going to be part of the main cast. They waste everybody except for Goku. Okay, Roman says, imagine in the moral arc they showed more of the collaborative effort to take down the means instead of rushing the arrival of Goku. Well, that's what I said, Roman, that when 56 dropped, I was so excited because I thought they were actually going to give each of the Z fighters about maybe 2, 3 chapters of their individual one-on-one fights and give each one of them a win. And instead, we get these rushed conflicts that just kind of annoy me because they don't want to focus on any character that's not Goku or Vegeta. They want to rush back to that. That's why I said the pacing for a lot of the modern Dragon Ball stuff is all over the place. Like the Buu arc went from being really slow to really rushed at times. And I know it's not the length because, again, it's the same length as Cell and Frieza. The same thing with the Goku Black arc. The same thing with Tournament of Power. It's like they get bogged down in a certain status quo for the arc, and then they just want to get through it really quickly. Okay, it's really funny because people often talk about how Z has so much filler. The only parts of Z that are kind of like nauseating to get through are those like arc ending fights, like Goku versus Vegeta, Goku versus Frieza, Cell versus Gohan, and that those are really the only times where it's just like, can we hurry this up? And then the Kid Buu fight. Other than that, I think it's not as bad as people pretend it is. That's just my opinion, as someone that's seen the whole damn thing. Oh yeah, the monthly chapter thing is just getting back to what Roman King said, is horrible because you get uh some story and then you have to wait 30 days to see what the conclusion is, because a lot of us are just used to having a weekly show. So the switch from that format to this is kind of Majin Vegeta arc, another wasted part that could have been amazing if done right. Well, I said before that Deborah should have made, what do you call it? Should have turned Krillin into stone, and then turned both Piccolo and Vegeta into Majins, and then you could have had Gohan versus his now evil mentor, and then Goku versus his rival who's been waiting for a fight for 7 years. Then you could have had 18 kill Deborah. All of that would have made sense, would have all had to do with character relationships. I'm just saying that it's really easy to find missed opportunities with the Boo arc. Oh, you know what would have been cool if for the Boo arc, instead of because Deborah basically just gets turned into pretty much an excuse to show how strong Babidi's new minion is with Boo. If instead of having Boo kill Babidi, you have Tien show up and then killed Babidi after some prolonged fight. And then that's when Tien's like, yeah, I can't keep up. I just barely defeated this guy. And then the Supreme Kai takes him to get training and he gets the Z sword and the rest of that. That would have been way cooler than having the Gohan's potential rehash story arc again. And I'm gonna keep saying this. They can make characters as strong as they want, however they want. This is not the Saiyan show. I know they do that now, but they don't have to. Not a fan of it, but if it helps lowers the stress of work for the creators, I don't mind. I mean, I'm not a fan of it either, but I know these are actually humans. You should see how many of the fans for Dragon Ball are upset with Toriyama for not continuing it yet. They act like the manga doesn't exist. They're like, "Where's Super? Where did it go?" It's in manga form now. Now you don't have to worry about these 80 and 60 and 70-year-old voice actors straining their voices for another 10 years if they live that long. I'm not even being, like a fatalist, but those people have been doing this for a really long time and they're probably sick of it. Like, you got to remember that even though there's 18-year gap or 20-year gap between Z and Super, all of those Japanese voice actors year after year voice those characters in video games. So they're probably just tired of it. Japan isn't like America. We hire and fire people left and right. Like with Vic Mignogna, they got another Broly voice actor. In Japan, when they did the Yo Goku and Friends Return special, Tien's not in there because his voice actor died. So they take voice acting a lot more seriously in Japan than in the U.S. We get rid of you left and right. It's a much more respected profession over there. Bring back Babidi, bring back Evil Vegeta, and I'll be happy. I'm just saying, Flying Iceman, that I think there's a whole bunch of stuff they can do with characters who always train, that they deserve the power ups. Like the same group of people when I used to go on the forums who would tell me Goku and Vegeta get new forms because they train. That's why Gohan doesn't get a new one. That's why they're much stronger than he is. When you say, okay, well, what about the characters who always train like Piccolo and Tien? That's just how it is. But it doesn't have to be. Oh yeah, that was a stupid decision too. No, Krillin before the and we could do a whole man. Krillin's one of the most disrespected characters of the whole series, but Krillin was training all the way up until the Buu arc. They just decided to have that be part of his story that he stopped. And now I want somebody to do some fan art of of Tien versus Babidi. I'm telling you, I would have loved the ending way more for the Buu arc if like, and this is still not even my preferred final ending, but let's say it had been Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, and Tien versus Kid Buu, all the characters that actually train using all their different techniques. Like as Tien's holding Buu back with the what was that, the Kikoho, then Goku throws the Spirit Bomb or uses some move to finish him off. Because see that way, even though he doesn't beat the main villain, he still assists in the story. And that's one of the things that's like most aggravating, that Tien and Piccolo both have a bunch of different moves that they just never use, like that forearm move or the Dudon Ray. And the only move Goku has is the Kamehameha, which every damn character knows. Voice actors get treated serious in Japan. Japan doesn't need getting annoying A-list celebrities to sell their anime movies. Hey, good on them. Oh, Flying Iceman says every dub has the same voices. Goddamn Monopoly. I mean, I would make the same. I would agree with that, but you're aware that Krillin and Yajirobe's voice actor does Luffy's voice, so it is that kind of thing of having people voice characters and multiple stuff does exist over there too. What is Duel saying LOL so true for? And how dare Duel show up after being gone for so long? I want to point out that they have like one more arc in them. I'm looking at the number of volumes, and there isn't much left till Super finishes. I don't think this is the ending though. I just like I'm not convinced that the final arc of this show is going to be some random goat comes out and tries to eat planets. I do hope that it's a group effort. I don't know why they don't let Tien use the Kikoho to keep villains. Like because they can always say that attack holds off stronger enemies because he's increased in strength, and then that way they still let him be involved in the fight without being the one to win the match. Like that's why I started this with bringing up the King Piccolo arc because even though he doesn't beat Piccolo, he still has a role to play in the final fight where he saves Goku from getting possibly shot to death, and then Piccolo tries to take him hostage, and he's like, "I don't care, let me die, save the world." He's just a really just a nice character in my opinion that unfortunately exists in the show that doesn't treat him too well. It's like all the human characters are the Rock Lee of Dragon Ball, basically. Not moral, but it's going to be one more major universal threat than probably bring the X-Universe villains to the manga. I mean, I was told that we're going to get at least 100 chapters of the manga, so the pacing of this stuff kind of leads me to believe that might be true. I don't know. I'm just saying because that the moral arc started off so slow, and then it's just been kicking into overdrive. I think we might either see it end this year or early next year. And I say that, and then they put out next chapter, and it's Vegeta with like Moro's fist on his knuckles or something. Like arc's over, go screw yourself. I want to see what Duel was trying to refer to when he said "LOL." So true. Ruben says voice acting in the U.S. is 5 people voicing everyone in the show and game, even the background voices. Well, I mean, my show, I voice all the dudes except for one, so I can't get too upset at other people for doing that. Now, there's a whole bunch of voice actors that are in everything, like Steve Bloom and what's her name, Gray Delia, whatever her last name is. There are a whole bunch of them just in everything. I haven't watched Naruto, but I'm pretty sure that even Rock Lee gets more respect than any of the human characters in DBZ do. Well, the thing about Naruto that's really frustrating is that it has so many characters to where, like, by the time we get to Shippuden, which is part 2, when they bring in more characters, they really stop using any of them other than Team 7 and then like Shikamaru, and that's pretty much it. Well, Roman, first of all, I'm really getting sick of people who don't even read One Piece saying it should be over. But second, I love how that's the main group. People who don't even watch are like, I want this to end. But Dragon Ball has a plot that isn't as clear cut as One Piece, so it's kind of, I mean, it really is like the Japanese equivalent to a superhero comic where you could just have it stretch out for as long as you want because there's no set conclusion for it. Like if you saw the ending to the Cell arc a little much, oh well. Hey, you don't have to read all of them. Roman, you can either watch 1,000 episodes or you can read 100 volumes. Pick it. Pick what you want. Oh yeah, Iceman, I love that too. Actually, they have a pretty similar story beat where the first half the Straw Hats are actually the main characters, and then after part two starts, it basically becomes the Luffy, Sanji, Zoro, and Law show, guest starring the Straw Hats. Where like you'll be lucky if any of them get anything to do in an arc that they're supposed to be in and get focus in because they're on the cover. Berserk creator will die before it finishes. What is he, 90 or 109 or something? And being a little morbid there. I'm just thinking there's some alternate universe where there's a Dragon Ball show where it actually is kind of surprising, where you could realistically believe it's either gonna, like, every season or saga, it's either Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, or Tien that defeats the villain, and it's established like it actually means uh, that when you train the most, you get the most benefits. Like there's some world where that show exists, and it's much better than Super because it actually focuses on wording the same two people over and over. I mean, Roman, no one said you had to read it. It's just like Steven Universe. I have a whole bunch of people on here who talk about how good that is. I looked at a little bit of it. I said I'm good, and just kept it moving. No one has to indulge in any of this entertainment. Super Saiyan 4 was the only thing I liked in GT. Looked way yeah, I don't know why they don't just like all the forms after 3 that are supposedly canonical. They need to just throw out and bring back Super Saiyan 4. Told you they got lazy with the transformations after the Battle of God, Renaissance, resurgence that we've been in for the last 6 years. Again, King is someone that enjoys that series. I'm not here to defend it for, because I mentioned before I can find problems in everything I like and then still say I enjoy it. Because really, Dragon Ball didn't start basically saying screw the humans until maybe the Cell arc. And again, that was a decision made by the writer, who apparently wanted, like they have this claim where they say that people have a misconception that Toriyama wanted to end it at Cell. The reason people think that is because there is an excerpt that still is in the English print of the manga, where I think, what is it, Roshi, who says after the Cell arc's conclusion, Dragon Ball will continue for a little bit longer with Gohan as the main character. So when you put something in there like that, it's not hard for people to think that you intended for the last arc to be the ending of it. Now you've changed your mind and want some more coins. But yeah, again, I want it to be understood that the fans of these series really do try to basically make non-existent excuses for this stuff being messed up. Oh, the humans can't be stronger because uh, they didn't train with gods. Well, neither did the Saiyans during the actual run of the manga. Oh, the humans can't be stronger because they can't transform. Well, then the writer can make some transformations. Oh, the humans can't win because they haven't fought and won a battle in so long. Well, hell, no character in this entire series that isn't Goku or Gohan has actually beaten the main villain of an arc. I think it would be surprising and people would like it if we saw other characters occasionally beat the main villain, provided that they receive proper characterization. That's why like with the fusion stuff, even when I hadn't seen all of Z, I knew from the second they were introduced, they weren't actually going to amount to anything in terms of beating a main villain, because they're so antithetical to this series. An arc of Dragon Ball, an arc of Z, and just the whole series has always kept this thing where the character who beats the main villain, usually Goku, gets focused on throughout the arc. You see them train, and then you get this cathartic nature when they, after all their training, beat the main opponent of the arc. So when you introduce these forms that show up and have these cocky attitudes because they're so powerful, because they're a merging of two other characters that worked for that. You can't feel any attachment to them because they're barely on screen by virtue of the physics of the fusions. That's why I said Vegito is a really wasted opportunity, because he's a permanent fusion that we theoretically could spend an entire arc getting to know and see trained, that they just decide not to use. Roman says, one day, they will give humans the care and love they deserve. Its sayings are nothing. It's currently the Goku and Vegeta show. That's why this series will continue to blow. They can't give Tien a win in one damn fight. That's why this series just isn't right. It's not even really Tien as a character, even though I really like him. It's just the fact that his existence screws up this show, because it wants you to believe the people who train the most should be the winners, but then the one who trains the most, along with another one who trains the most, being Piccolo, simply loses because they're not the right race. Again, the Namekians as an alien species was a wasted opportunity. I mean, I usually just go by character because it's a lot easier for me to take one character and pinpoint where exactly they went wrong with them. Like with Tien, I didn't really get upset with where his character was going until Cell, because he was alive for that entire arc and only got to do one thing against Cell, and trained for 3 years before it started for no damn reason. They should have at least had him fight Android 20 or something, because even Krillin got to do that when he confronted him in the woods. It was a really brief encounter, but it was still something. So it's not until like the end of the overall series that I'm just kind of annoyed with what they did with him. And again, for Boo, they should have had him. Like I said, my idea would be both Piccolo and Vegeta become Majins, and they fight Gohan and Goku, and there's like a whole emotional stakes of their relationship with these two characters, the relationship between those four characters that we've seen over the course of the whole series. And then while that's going on, you have Tien show up, because again, he's been out of the loop in that arc up until that point in this alternate universe I'm concocting, and fight Babidi and barely win, or just like, he doesn't kill Babidi, but he puts up a fight to where Babidi, let's say, gets severely injured. And that's when the Supreme Kai is like, look, we're not going to beat Boo. We got to get out of here. He brings him back to his plan. He gets training, gets the Z Sword. That would have been so much better than what we got. Instead of rehashing Gohan needs to get stronger just so he can play second fiddle again. What if Goku had stayed permanently dead during the Boo saga? Part of me wishes he had, because that I think they should have done it like this. Do not use Goten and Trunks, because Trunks and Goten are just a poor man's version of future Trunks and Goku, just calling it what it is. And attempt to make Gohan, Piccolo, Vegeta, Yamcha, Tien, and maybe Fidel and 18, the characters that collectively defeat Boo. I think that would have been a way better way for that arc to go. If those seven characters together were the ones that won this fight. Megumi says, "Damn, I'm going to have to rewatch this when it's uploaded." Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, because I did talk about the character for the most part. The Goku and Vegeta saga rejoice. I'm telling you, it's been like that ever since the end of the Buu arc. And it's really just basically Japan having this like hard on for Goku, where they basically refuse to believe that fans of this series are fans of the series and not of that one character. Because again, Z is the most popular part of this damn franchise, and it's the one that has Goku the least in it. There's an entire, it's filler, but there's an entire arc of Z that Goku's not even in. No, King, I'm gonna probably do a whole video on just rewriting the Buu arc. Because like it makes sense for Tien to be the one to show up to fight Babidi in that hypothetical of Majin, Piccolo, and Vegeta versus Gohan and Goku, because he wasn't at the tournament. He hangs out in the woods. This is the Majin Buu arc, the one after Cell. So he could show up and just put up a good fight, get wrecked because he's a human, and we can't have humans whenever. And then he can get the Z sword from the Supreme Kai after the latter takes him back to his planet and get some training, get his potential unlocked, and then fight on par with Super Buu until he absorbs Gotenks and Gohan, and then defeat him with Vegeta, Piccolo, and maybe 18. All of them just fight. He could do the Ki Koho, and then the two of them could fire off some blast, and you could have a perfect show about all these people that Goku turned good or helped to turn good, saving the world without him and proving that they can manage without him. Would have had a lot more poise to it. I actually did another version of the ending where instead of Goku using the spirit bomb, which I think is like it's like a douchebag way of getting around not having all the characters fight the spirit bomb Kamehameha was dope. If you say so, I would have preferred if I have to keep Goku in the end of it, because I was trying to respond to Ruben asking what if Goku had stayed dead during the Buu arc. Instead of having the spirit bomb be what kills Kid Buu, have the dragon bring Gohan, Piccolo, Tien, Yamcha, 18, 17, and maybe though that group, and then they can team up with Goku and Vegeta and destroy Buu as a collective. That it's like a 8v1, because the point of bringing all those characters back is that this is the final real fight of the entire manga. So what better way than to have each of the characters that actually had focus as a fighter show up and destroy the menace that is trying to, just get rid of the whole universe. I just hate the Kid Buu fight so much as the not as an actual fight, but as the final fight of the manga, because it only uses the supposed main character and a character who showed up in the second half. Everybody else gets sidelined for it, and that was really stupid to me. Again, as a final fight. Now, if this was just like a random arc, okay, whatever. But as the final conclusive ending to the series, no. All together to defeat the ultimate threat, what could have been. Yeah, because remember, this is supposed to tie the whole series in together. This is the conclusion. So, what better way than to have each of the defenders of Earth show up and as a entire group destroy this villain? That's kind of, we did sort of get that a little bit with the fight against Great Ape Vegeta. Where it was Goku, Gohan, and Krillin versus him. But I think this would be a more conclusive fight, or rather, it would be a more inclusive, conclusive fight. I can just picture Tien using the Kikoho, and then they're all firing and blowing blasts down on him, and oh, that would have been so perfect. Instead of, let me put my hands up in the sky. Everyone, put your hand up. Ooh, we beat the villain with this move that is our way of having the villain get defeated without actually creating a new move. And then the time skip after, Toriyama really did just wing it the entire time he was working on Dragon Ball. Yeah, instead of having Goku finally settle down with his family after years of being separated from them via death and other planet dimensions and all that crap, we're gonna have him fly off with some random dude he met at a tournament one day. Man, that was dumb. Jesus. Oh, the other reason that I kind of get annoyed with Tien not being a fighter anymore is that they age Krillin up, but from what we've seen, apparently Tien doesn't age as much, so he theoretically has more longevity to fight. Even though, like I said, all they have to do is just use the balls to make them younger if they want. Telling you, man, this series is really good because it's created so many ways for things to just. He did make GT a great series. Yeah, I think it would have been a much better show if he was actually focused on. He kind of just shows up and gets to play second fiddle against Baby for like an episode, and yeah, my point. They don't use him to actually do much of anything other than be the stalling boy. Oh, I know it is, Ruben. That they in the English dub they made him a lot more heroic. Yeah, a lot of people who like the dub think of him as this great champion of peace and whatnot. It's like no, he cares about the universe, but fighting is the main thing he's concerned about. You're entitled to your opinion, Megumi. I'm not going to be like a certain other person and get mad because you. What did that one guy do when I said I didn't like the Last Jedi? I tried to say that I had a mental illness. It's like really all over a movie. Oh, I love Baby. He was one of the few villains that actually wasn't just evil to be evil. And I've also said he should have. It would have been way cooler if he had possessed Gohan and then Vegeta ended up having to defeat him because it would be him having to deal with the consequences of his planet and his people. And he's that's rooted in his character. He is the Prince of all Saiyans after all. Man, that would have been so cool if they had Vegeta, Tien, Yamcha, Piccolo, um, Oob, and Pan all just blow him away because it would have all tied in. Like think about it. Piccolo was Gohan's mentor. Pan is Gohan's daughter. Oob is what Gohan's father's protege. So every character that I just mentioned all would have had some personal stakes in there. Oh, and as far as the dragons are concerned, what they should have had each one of the Z fighters fight a different dragon each episode. That would have been way cooler than just, oh my god, we have seven dragons going around trying to make up. What do you call it? They're lurking around for the sake of, making us atone for all the times we misused the Dragon Balls. Oh, let's have Goku fight all of them. Because think about it, those wishes were made by other characters. That's actually a good point. What dragon should Tiana fought? Hmm. Which one? He should have fought at least one of them. It should have been him and Shao versus one of them. Yeah, Megumi. I've thought a lot about this series and the missed opportunities they've had. And like I said, the Omega Shenron fight's only frustrating for the same reasons the Kid Buu fight is frustrating. It's the final fight of a series, and you choose to just have it be Goku doing this instead of all the characters together doing this. Like Omega Shenron should have been beaten by Goku, Pan, and Trunks at least, because that was the main group from the first saga. In my opinion, when you have a final battle, it should use all the characters that have had a major role in the series to give them a conclusive ending. Like, even though I like Tien, I wouldn't say that he should be the one that defeated or helped defeat Omega Shenron because he didn't do anything in GT other than have like what, two cameos. I thought that was stupid, but I'm just saying that I'm still trying to work within the logic of the series of who they decide to prop up and give something to do. Yeah, them the Grand Supreme Kai unlocking not the Grand Supreme Kai, the Elder Kai unlocking Gohan's potential was really redundant. It's like that already happened on Namek. Let someone else's potential get unlocked. And that's something else I don't get. They like to pretend he's the only character that actually can do anything, or rather that actually has untapped potential. That's why I gave the example of Tien because we're led to believe he's like a spiritual type of character. That's why he does all that meditating. Wouldn't it have made sense for him to be the character who interacts with the Supreme Kai? I prefer for the series to end that way too, especially for the final battle. Yeah, because it's supposed to be the final bow on the whole thing. But again, they're too lazy to think of something that uh, poetic. So they're going to keep playing their own little game. Tien on Namek and unlocking the potential could have changed the entire story. The only reason I didn't say like I didn't give that example, King, is because I haven't really thought out what like how different the story could have been if he survived against Nappa. I will say I think it would have been cool if he used the key Koho to, let's say, keep Vegeta in place, and then that's when Yajirobe cut off the tail, because it would have been more of a group effort and would have shown how they needed to band together to defeat him. But as far as like him going on Namek, I think it would have been cool to see him fight. Well, we already did in filler get to see him fight. What was that, Burter and Jace? But yeah, he would have been interesting to see. I just wish they would stop like not using him. It's really annoying. Hmm. Or using him as to play, second fiddle or something. It'd been cool if like when if he had survived that fight and then when he got recovered or whatever, he promises Goku he won't let his son or his best friend die, referring to Gohan and Krillin. And then after Krillin gets killed, him and Goku team up against Frieza because he's trying to avenge Krillin and is apologetic for not being able to keep his promise. I mean, he was there when Krillin died the first time, so it would be him basically trying to reverse what he had done or the mistake he had made. Hey, we should do a whole video on that Tien on Namek, or Tien if he hadn't have died. Yeah, they fight one at a time. Then what was Goku Black and Zamasu versus Z Fighters? What was that? When did those two fight one on one when they were both around? Told you, man. It's so easy to basically shoot down anything that people who like this series try to use against what I'm proposing. Because I can name you multiple examples throughout the same damn series where they do the reverse. Oh, we can go through each one. What was Gohan and Krillin versus Goldo? What was Upa and Par versus Vamp? What was that vampire guy's name? Telling you, we can do this all day. Only time 1v1 makes any damn sense is when it's one character with another character and no one's around, which is what happened with Piccolo versus Cell. Or it's a tournament, like the Cell games or any of the tournaments from the first series. That's the only time 1v. Again, if you want to have that be the case, just say the character doesn't want to fight because they can't keep up, or create a scenario where other characters aren't around to intervene. Writing this series is not hard, but people want to believe 1v1 actually is a thing that occurs. What was 17 and 18 versus the Z Fighters after 18 broke Vegeta's arm? Was that 1v1? Hell, that was 17 versus Piccolo, Tien, and Future Trunks. Because all 18 did was break the sword. The filler is what could have been if the supporting cast had a fleshed out arc for themselves with a tease. Ruben says Yamcha and Namek bring back Garlic Jr. for Super. Megumi, you can go through every series in this entire franchise and you can find multiple power levels go up. There are no power levels. If there were, 17 wouldn't have come back after barely being able to fight. I'm dissing all these decisions because I've seen this entire show and I can break all of it because it's written like trash at this point. If power levels were still a thing, Black Pill, how the hell Android with the Garlic Jr. would be beyond weak? I would have said the same thing about 17. Oh, he's weaker than first form Cell. Yeah, there's no way he could fight in a tournament of power, especially since he has been trained with gods. Oh my God, he just hit Jiren and actually did damage. How did that happen? No explanation given. Fans don't care. They take whatever we give them. I remember so when we were talking about the Super 17 arc, me and this one other person, I had mentioned that it would have been cool if Piccolo and because he was in hell, right? If he went over there and met his father and then they fused, and then Piccolo got to come back to Earth revived and fight Super 17. So it would have been two Piccolos versus two 17s. And this guy was like, this other person said, but wouldn't King Piccolo be way too weak to have that fusion? Like, no. Do you not realize it's been over 20 years since he died? And all they have to say is that he's been down there training and fighting all the different creatures and and goblins and villains that have showed up. Oh yeah, Iceman. Shouts got completely ignored. I mean, I'm annoyed by what they've done to Tien, but they do him even worse. Now, this is high key. We're dissing all the dumb decisions. Like a slice of like life pace for Dragon Ball. Like Masaka, imagine would have been nice direction to take the series. Again, he was still a character who, let's put it up, black pill that we're not doing this today. A character who was weaker than Cell's first form after a decade of not training with gods or anyone that was on his own level of strength was able to, in the manga, keep up with a Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and in the show, keep up with a Super Saiyan Blue Goku. That is why I do not believe in power levels. That is why I do not believe any of the human characters could never get stronger, because these writers have shown that whenever they feel like having a character be the same level of strength, animals that Kid Goku could have beaten, that whenever they think a character should be a certain level of strength, they will bring them back with that strength